country, tackling the topics everyone is talking about online. Share, engage, and interact. This is Newsfeed Now.
Good morning, everybody. Glad you can join us here on Newsfeed Now on this Monday. I'm Suzanne Bruner. I'm sure you probably need that extra cup of coffee or two because a lot of you were up for Super Bowl Sunday. Hopefully your team won. That was the people you're rooting for. But over the next 15 minutes, we're going to take a look at the biggest stories that people are talking about online right now. Of course, the Super Bowl continues to inundate our feeds, but we're also keeping our eye on the impeachment trial, a side effect of the COVID-19 vaccine, and we're going to end things with an interesting way to get over your ex just in time for Valentine's Day. Yes, so stay tuned for that. But first, we're going to look ahead to tomorrow because that's when former President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial is set to start. Senators will consider whether to convict the former president of incitement of insurrection after a mob of his supporters overran the U.S. Capitol in a deadly attack on January 6th. Anna Warnicki has more.
Former President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial is set to begin on Tuesday, 1 month after the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol.
There cannot be any healing without truth, without accountability.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate will conduct a full and fair trial. First, senators will hear arguments from the 9 House impeachment managers, who plan to argue that Trump was solely responsible for the January 6th attack, and that the former president encouraged the attack by repeatedly refusing to concede the election. Then, the president's attorneys will make their case, arguing that the trial is an unconstitutional overreach by Congress. In a memorandum released last week, Trump's legal team said that the former president did not incite rioters to attack the Capitol. They went on to say that the article of impeachment violates Trump's right to free speech.
We're in Congress, we're not prosecutors.
South Carolina Republican Lindsey Graham said on CBS Face the Nation that many senators have already made up their mind.
I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to end the impeachment trial because I think it's blatantly unconstitutional.
But others, like Pennsylvania Republican Pat Toomey, said on CNN's State of the Union that he's still on the fence.
I'm going to listen to the arguments on both sides and make the decision that I think is right.
And we have much more from Anna Warnicki, who is joining us now from Washington, D.C. Anna, glad to have you here. You know, this is a story we've been following for weeks, and even the question, will this impeachment trial even happen? Well, it's set to start tomorrow. Will President Trump be there? And what has his response been leading up to the trial?
Well, we actually haven't heard from President Trump much himself, and his team, the House impeachment managers, did request that former President Trump actually testify during the trial, and his lawyers, his legal team said that he will not be doing that. They kind of referred to it as Democrats wanting to just put on a show. So we can expect that former President Trump will not be here in D.C. this week, but you know, I'm sure that he will be watching it very closely, like he has in the impeachment trial the last time. He's been following it closely while he was in office, and I'm sure that he's following it closely now.
Yeah, and so to convict Trump, correct me here if I'm wrong, but 17 Republicans would need to vote in favor along with the 48 Democrats and 2 independents to reach 2/3 supermajority. If that's the case, could we see this happen?
Well, right now there's about 5 Senate Republicans who are on the fence. They're not sure which way they're going to vote. Senator Pat Toomey, like you saw just a moment ago in that package, he's one of those senators, the Republicans that just aren't sure what they're going to do. But like you said, they need 17 Republicans to join all 50 Democrats in order to convict former President Trump. And those 5 that are on the fence right now, that's not enough to meet that threshold, but you know, anything could happen. So there's a lot of people are still waiting to see as it plays out. They want to hear both sides, hear both arguments. And you know, it's going to be tough to get to that magic number, the 2/3 majority, but anything could happen.
How do you think things could play out for the rest of the week?
I think it's going to be a long week. One thing that both Democrats and Republicans have said is that they want this to be a speedy trial. We can expect it won't be as long as the last one, which lasted about 3 weeks. But there's still a lot that Congress wants to get done. They want to get this COVID relief package moving. But once they come back here to Washington later today, it's all impeachment trial 24/7 until they finish it. So every other business item that they have, every pressing business item is now on delay. It's on pause. So they're going to try to get work through this pretty quickly, quicker than we saw last time. But it still could be at least a week, if not several days before we see any really true movement.
Anna, appreciate your report and your insight on this developing story. Thanks so much. And right now, there's a lot of talk about the COVID-19 vaccine, especially the surprising side effect. This one mirrors a symptom of breast cancer. As Melissa Reed reports, in Ohio hospitals finding more and more patients are calling them concerned over the signs.
We have been seeing swollen lymph nodes for a couple weeks now.
According to Dr. Holly Marshall with University Hospitals, breast radiologists have encountered a side effect of the COVID-19 vaccine that could be mistaken for breast cancer.
We have been seeing enlarged lymph nodes, and that's from the vaccine, and that is a normal response that the body has to the vaccine.
Marshall says that is because the lymph nodes seen under the arm are included on a mammogram. Patients can also feel them.
We can also see swollen lymph nodes in patients who have breast cancer, so that's the concern there. But we are at university hospitals asking everybody who's having a mammogram if they've had the COVID vaccine, and what dose, and when, and what side.
Marshall says UH's Radiology and Breast Cancer Imaging Department has been getting more and more calls from women concerned over the signs. So what gives?
It means that the body is making antibodies to fight infections.
According to the CDC, about 11% of people who will receive either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine will experience swollen lymph nodes after their first dose, and that goes up to 16% after the second.
Did any of your patients tell you how long before they eventually went away?
So we can see lymph nodes that are swollen 2 to 4 days after the vaccine. And everybody's different, but the lymph nodes can decrease in size after 2 weeks, after 4 weeks. But if it's been a couple months, then it needs to be further evaluated.
Marshall says this reiterates the importance of women getting an annual mammogram screening beginning when they are 40 years old.
We did have, due to COVID, a couple months where we were not doing mammograms. So it's important to not delay and to...
Melissa Reed, News Nation, Cleveland.
Melissa, thanks so much. And we want to talk about some information that's circulating online right now. Face mask exemption ID cards. It basically tells people whoever has this card doesn't have to wear a mask in public. As Kimberly Brown reports, these cards are in fact fake and has more on the latest scam that you need to be aware of.
The mask mandate meant to slow the spread of the coronavirus. A lot of businesses posting signs on their doors to acknowledge that people should wear masks when they enter. But officials say during a pandemic, someone is always trying to take advantage of others, so it's important to ask questions and to stay alert. Face mask exempt cards are making a second round on social media, and although they look real, emergency management officials say they are fake.
There are no avenues for someone to get some sort of exemption for not wearing a mask. It's just not something that's available to anyone.
The card circulating online has the U.S. Department of Justice written on it and even a medical decal. Responding to complaints, the DOJ officials issued a warning telling people to beware. COVID touched Laquan Sullivan's family. His mother-in-law recently got over it. He's concerned that fake cards will encourage people not to wear masks, but knows the rest of his family is protected because of them.
Everybody should wear a mask. I don't care about the cards or nothing like that, because it keeps everybody else safe. You might not want to be safe, but it keeps the people around you safe.
Officials admit the cards could fool you if you're uninformed. Some of them have the disclaimer that reads in part, "Wearing a face mask possesses a mental and or physical risk to me. Under the American with Disabilities Act, ADA, I am not required to disclose my condition to you." Face masks are mandatory in federal buildings and in businesses across South Carolina. To date, there are no medical exemptions issued on behalf of the ADA, the state, or federal government. Officials are doing their part to keep the public informed.
You know, scams are cyclical. I'm sure we'll see another one show up soon targeting pandemic people in some shape or form. The last one we just sent out the other week was regarding people trying to sell their spots in line to get a vaccine.
While the price is minimal for the fake badges, officials say in the long run, you could lose so much more.
And again, it's not like you're just missing out on 10, 20 bucks. Your personal information is getting taken down in a lot of these cases. And that's something we obviously know you need to protect.
Emergency management officials say if you see a fake badge for sale, it's important to contact law enforcement.
Yeah, so please keep that in mind. Those cards are fake. But no mask, no service. It didn't stop a man from stealing chicken and waffles from the Roscoe's in Pasadena, California last week. Police say the customer was told to leave Roscoe's after he refused to put on a mask. But a worker said after the man left, he came back with a gun and he didn't want the money.
All over because they told him to put a mask on. Yeah, he was not after money. Right. Guy just said, put all the chicken in the bag. And when he said that, I just started, we have a little island in the kitchen, so I started running back and forth until he got, I only did it like twice, 3 times the most. And then he got like distracted somewhere else and he started looking at something else outside, towards the front. And that's when that was my cue. I just ran towards the back and I was like, I'm out of here.
A scary situation for employees there. You are taking a look at surveillance video from when that happened. Well, the man eventually left with a few orders that were waiting to be picked up. Police say no one was hurt and only food was taken from the restaurant. Now on to a frightening ordeal. An Oregon woman's livelihood stolen right in front of her. Someone stole her doggy daycare van with nearly a dozen dogs inside. Fortunately, it all ended up well. Jenny Young spoke to the owner and describes how it all happened.
It's not just a business for me. This is an extreme passion and love.
Sunny Liston has owned Dog Patch Resort, a doggy daycare and boarding business for nearly 20 years.
On Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we go downtown onto 13th and between Davis and Everett and load dogs up.
Between Dog Patch's 2 vans that each hold 13 kennels, some days there might be more than 24 dogs running around her play yards in Damascus.
Then we give them a warm water hose off and load them back in the vans and take them back into town.
But on Tuesday, when Liston loaded up the pack and brought them back to the city, the unthinkable happened.
So I parallel park on the street, then people come to me and get their dogs. So I sit in my van for an hour, and as each person comes, I unload the dogs. One of the first clients came about 10 after 5. I walked to the back of the van and got out of one of the top kennels, handed her dog, and she was starting to walk away, and the van started.
In the minute or so it took Liston to hand that customer her pup, a man had climbed into the driver's seat of the van and took off.
It took a split second to realize what had happened, and I screamed. I came up the side of the van, the driver's side, which was towards the street, and was pounding, and I was trying to get to the door. I was pounding on the wall of the van, and he ran over my foot.
That hurt foot was the last thing on her mind.
And I was screaming, call 911, that van stolen, stop them. And I panicked. I had no phone. My phone was in the van.
It turns out the stolen phone would be Liston's saving grace. Her employees pinged the phone's location. It was still inside the van in a parking lot at 13th and Jefferson.
You would never have seen it from the street. The amazing girls that work for me called a friend that lives on 13th and Jefferson and said, get in your car, you've got to find this van. And that young lady, who I don't even know and I haven't met yet, I'm planning on meeting her, found the van.
Wow.
She parked her car and blocked off the parking area so it couldn't get out.
As for the thief, Liston says he didn't stick around. She says the relief she felt when she realized the dogs had been found safely was priceless.
The policeman called me and I could hear the dogs in the background. I screamed. I was screaming, you've got him, you've got him. It wasn't like anything you could describe.
Wow, that is quite the story. We have Jenny Young joining us now from Portland, Oregon to talk more about this. Wow, it's just interesting the series of events that took place to find her van full of dogs here. So many questions for you. The first one is, did the suspect knowingly steal this van? Like, did he know what was inside this van? Like, was this his target? What was going through his mind?
That's what we wondered too, and Sunny doesn't know, and that's, because nobody's been able to talk to this guy. Police are still looking for him. I actually talked to Sunny on the phone this morning, and she said that police are following up with her regularly, and they've been able to look at some surveillance video.
Oh, okay. So taking a look at the surveillance video, have they been able to come up with a description of this person, and how are they looking for him?
Unfortunately, no, they can't see his face, but there is a community of people in that area, and police kind of know who the players are, if that makes sense. The folks who kind of hang out in that area. There's a rougher crowd in that part of town. So police doing police work kind of are familiar with that, according to what I'm told.
Yeah, and obviously they can't really release so much about their investigation. But what's interesting is if Sunny didn't forget about her phone, they probably wouldn't be able to track down this van as soon as they had. So where the van was found, do investigators think it is where this guy may have ended up and where he could be found in the vicinity?
So Sunny thinks that he probably, this is from her, not police, that he probably hangs out in that area. So I didn't realize this, but she said that this has gone international, and she said she was interviewed. She was interviewed by the BBC a day after our interview, and she said she's received letters or emails from Sweden. She's received, her house is full of flowers. People have sent her wine, so it's pretty incredible.
She's getting a lot of support. And now, luckily, the dogs are doing okay, and I'm so glad they're being reunited with their owners, because that's just a scary situation for everybody involved. But was anything else taken from the van? Anything at all?
He actually stole all the cash in her purse and her credit cards, and tried using her credit cards. And one of the places he tried using the credit card is where police looked at surveillance. But like I said, weren't able to get his face.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to track down whoever did this. Thank you so much for bringing us that story, Jenny. We appreciate your time. All right, well, the moment you have all been waiting for, more Super Bowl Sunday talk. Tom Brady led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a 31-9 victory last night over the Kansas City Chiefs. Steve, who are you rooting for?
I was rooting for the commercials.
Oh, the commercials. Okay, and if you were rooting for the commercials, well, I'm sure you won too. But we have video of Buccaneers fans walking around Tampa after the team's big win. They were just so excited they had to get out there. But this was the first time an NFL team played in a Super Bowl at home. I'm sure you guys have heard that over and over. But this is the Bucs' first Super Bowl win since 2002. So congratulations to them. He is the GOAT. You know that Tom Brady just does a great job. But the NFL 2021 Hall of Fame class has been announced, and we're going to tell you here, Peyton Manning made the list during his first year of eligibility. He's a 5-time NFL MVP. He was also named to the Pro Bowl 14 times and an All-Pro 10 times. Manning is also a 2-time Super Bowl champ and was the game's MVP in 2009. Other members include Charles Woodson, Calvin Johnson, Tom Flores, Drew Pearson, Alan Faneca, Bill Nunn, and John Lynch. Congrats to Mr. Manning. And before we go, yes, I told you had to stick around for this one because it's good. If you live in El Paso, Texas, you're in luck if you need some help saying goodbye to your ex. The El Paso Zoo is throwing the Quit Bugging Me event. Yeah, just quit bugging me. People can name a cockroach after an ex or someone who's been bugging them. You can probably guess what happens next. Any guesses? Yeah, they'll be fed to these little guys, meerkats, on Valentine's Day weekend. So if you want to name a cockroach, you can still submit a form on the zoo's website. This anti-Valentine's Day feast will be streamed online on the El Paso Zoo Facebook page. This is hilarious. And it's also going to be streamed at the zoo's amphitheater with limited capacity on Saturday and Sunday, February 13th and 14th. I could just imagine them announcing like, all right, this person, there you go. Enjoy your feast. Well, thanks so much for joining us here on Newsfeed Now today. Be sure to click in tomorrow as well, 10:30 Central Time. Until then, have a wonderful Monday, everybody.